We've got an injury update on Jason Dickinson. Connor Bedard has responded to the national criticisms he's been getting. Anders Sorensen shares his thoughts as well. All that and more next on CHGO Blackhawks. Whoa. Welcome into the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. Hope you're having a great Thursday. I'm Jay Zawoski. That's Mario Tirabassi. Joey's here running the show today with Steven at the Super Bowl and Sarah, God knows where.
On the slopes.
Yes, skiing. That's right.
Yeah.
I bet she's got her Shady Rays ski goggles on right now.
I bet she does.
That's a free one, Shady Rays. You'll be invoiced for that later. Hey, thanks for jumping in with us. We appreciate that. Do us a favor if you're watching us on YouTube. Hit that like button for us. We'd appreciate that. Make sure you are subscribed to the YouTube page as well. Those buttons are just right there under the video. So if you see us, you'll see that thumbs up, and then you'll see the subscribe. Go hit both of those, and we would appreciate that. Mm-hmm. And if you're listening on the podcast, because you're old school, we love you too. Make sure you are following or subscribed on your favorite podcast app. And please take 30 seconds to leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And even if you want to say in the review that we suck, as long as it's 5 stars, we will take that exchange.
Sure.
We're happy to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, a lot to get to today.
You can criticize us all you want.
Yeah.
That's the theme of today's show.
That's right.
Criticism.
Couldn't care less. I'm not going to be butthurt about it. So here's the deal. We're going to hear from Connor Bedard. We're going to hear from Anders Sorensen about Connor Bedard because for the second time in less than a week, the national broadcast has taken their opportunity to offer their thoughts on what he needs to improve. We'll discuss whether or not those comments are fair, and we'll hear again from Connor and from Anders Sorensen. But let's first start with the news on Jason Dickinson. We were told there'd be an update today. There is a bit of an update. Anders Sorensen says high ankle sprain. He's going to go through some imaging. When prodded a little bit, it seems like this could potentially be better news than they had hoped. He's definitely going to miss the next 2 games, which are the 2 final before the Four Nations. But if the imaging goes well, and knock on press sawdust, that they do, you could see him back after the Four Nations tournament, which would be welcome news.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very, very optimistic for a high ankle sprain. Like, I think that is, if that's all it is, I think that's definitely going to be better news than probably most people, especially the Hawks, like expected. The way that he bent and fell and everything that was twisted up there, like it could have been a lot worse than just not just a high ankle sprain, but could be no ligament damage, could be no anything like that. Like that would be ideal, but yeah, the Four Nations face-off break coming is a good break for the Blackhawks and for Dickinson to potentially not miss that many games because he's a significant part of the forwards group, especially defensively. So it's going to be tough to replace him, and hopefully the Blackhawks don't have to worry about having to do it for too many games.
The other bit of news today, there is no recall, so it looks like Philip Kurashev will just draw back into the lineup. So we had speculated last night that with Dickinson going down, that maybe Colton Dock would just turn his car around and come back.
Yeah.
That's not the case as of today. I can't imagine they're going to do it tomorrow when they had the chance to get him in a practice today.
Right.
So you put Kurashev in for the next 2. Knock on wood that not another injury occurs, and you just go from there until the Four Nations break, which I'm fine with. I saw, this week was it 2 of the 3 practices could not make it in time today. But Kurashev looks like a guy who is chomping at the bit to get back in the lineup.
Yeah, I mean, you have to imagine that he's hopefully going to take advantage of the opportunity to get back in because, I mean, this is a team that is giving opportunities to guys that are part of the future, and then I think Kurashev at one point looked possibly a part of it, and definitely hasn't looked like it now. So getting the opportunity to get into the lineup is going to be big for him, and whether it's here or somewhere else in the league, like playing is better than sitting. So yeah, I got to imagine he's going to make the most of his opportunity, and yeah, I mean, hopefully that's something that, you know, benefits him and the Hawks, because if he steps in and plays well, like that means you're probably going to have maybe some favorable results against two teams that, you know, you probably are a little more even than the Oilers, I would assume, with the Predators and Blues coming up here.
It's two teams, though, in Nashville and St. Louis that have given them fits.
Annoyingly so, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, the Winter Classic, I look, if they come out flat against the Blues on Saturday, that's a problem, because they have got to be feeling pretty sour and upset with themselves about how that Winter Classic went. They're wearing the Winter Classic uniforms. I'm sure there's some stinky memories attached to those.
Yeah, it's a second chance.
Yeah, so I would hope that the Hawks come out with a much better response against the Blues on Saturday. So it'll be interesting to watch. And look, Kurashev's another guy. You kind of got to figure out what you got in him, and I think
we know.
Yeah, I think so too. And he has to realize that this is probably his last chance to prove to the Blackhawks that he is a valuable piece to the puzzle, because has dropped that opportunity this year big time after a really good year from him last year.
Yeah.
And there's just more and more and more. You know, you wrote about it in the rebuild report. If you're paying attention to the prospects at all, you see all the names and the forwards that are coming up in that bottom six that are going to leapfrog, if they haven't already, Philip Kurashev in the depth charts.
Yeah, I think his opportunity to like solidify a spot with the Hawks is slim to none at this point. So, I mean, yeah, there could be, you know, if he gets in the lineup, plays well, and does, you know, when trade deadline comes and goes, and there's a roster opportunity still there for him, if he, you know, steps into it and plays well, like, yeah, maybe there's some sort of extension here in Chicago. If not, it's, you know, he's going to be hitting the market. So he's got to prove to not only the Hawks, but also probably the league. And this is a time where there's a lot of scouts at a lot of games. So whether or not they're just there to scout for trade pieces, or, you know, you never know who's going to have their eye on you when they're there, or, you know, what kind of impression you can make. So yeah, he's in a position to try and, you know, continue to put up good performances to, you know, keep his NHL prospects open.
Yeah, I hope he takes advantage of it. Seems like a good kid.
Yeah.
Just he is very much in danger of getting passed over. So we are going to get into Bedard and Sorensen here. Don't have time to hear from either of them before we hit the break zone. I want to take a second and backtrack a little bit of something I said last night, because post game, raw emotions, frustrated, pointing the thumb at myself. As I have said many, many times, you don't need to play the game to be a general manager or to analyze the game. I took a shot at Paul Bissonnette for saying a guy with that little skill should not criticize Connor Bedard. That was unfair. That is hypocritical of me to say. Just because you are not a star player doesn't mean you don't understand the game. So I think that the criticisms that he put out last night were a little more balanced and a little more fair than what Mark Messier had to say. And basically what Bissonnette had to say was he's got to make better decisions. He can't try to be forcing plays. The one thing Bissonnette said that I did not like was that he called for a pass, didn't get it, and like shrugged like he was mad at the teammate. Mm-hmm. I think if there was a shrug at all, which I watched it a few times and didn't see it as definitively as Biz thought he did. And again, difference of opinion, that's fine. I think it could be a frustration that the play didn't work and not a frustration with the teammate. I don't know. This is kind of the bigger picture of this topic we're going to get into today, is how everything he does, from his face to the way he tapes his stick, to the way he changes lines, to the way he responds to questions, to the way he wears his hat, is picked apart and analyzed to a degree that I don't recall ever seeing before. You could say it about Connor McDavid. You could say it about Sidney Crosby. Those guys came in with better teams By the way, Mario Lemieux is a teammate of Sidney Crosby's. I don't see a Mario Lemieux level line mate for Connor Bedard right now.
No.
And Connor McDavid walked into a decent situation too.
He had more on that Oilers team than Bedard.
It was not Ryan Donato and it was not Landon Slaggert. All respect to those guys, third, fourth liners on a contender.
He was also coming up into the NHL with Leon Draisaitl next to him. So Bedard doesn't really have that quality of guy coming along with him either. Not until at least, some more of these prospects get here. And then I think Frank Nazar has been doing pretty good. Is he going to be Leon Draisaitl? I don't think so. But it's that quality of young guy coming along with Bedard, like McDavid had, like Austin Matthews had when he jumped into the league. Sidney Crosby, that was him and Malkin and Fleury and Jordan Stahl and Letang all in the same, all in consecutive drafts. Like that whole group came up at the same time. So it's a different situation when you have Bedard here now, and we've said this before, but you have Bedard here now ahead of the help that he would be getting from the rest of the prospect group. So as those guys improve together, that'll rise the tide of the Hawks. And then you got to add some top NHL players that are not prospects, like guys that are high level players now. They got to get into this organization. Yeah. All right. When we come back, we're going to talk about whether this criticism's fair. We're also going to hear from Bedard and Sorensen. That's coming up on the other side of the break zone. Do us a favor. Only 43 likes. We've got to do better than that. Please hit that like button for us. We'd really appreciate that. And while you're there, make sure you are subscribed to our YouTube page as well. And again, podcast listeners, make sure you're following or subscribed on your favorite app. Back with a whole bunch more on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast. And yes, what you're hearing in the background is Matt Peck and Big Dave having a collective conniption over the NBA trade deadline. Over the organization that's been this way for 30 years. Yeah. So they're I'm loud. Frustrated for them. They're loud and yes. Anyway. Understandable. Mando, good stuff. Do you stink like the Bulls front office? Well, if you get yourself some Mando, you're not going to stink anymore. They got their whole body deodorant, which you can use anywhere on your body. If it stinks, you can put Mando on it. It's created by a doctor. She saw firsthand how normal BO was being misdiagnosed and mistreated. It was. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of the Dave Chappelle skit where he's like, "Hi, I'm a doctor. I am a doctor." Dr. Nick Riviera. This is a real doctor. Yes, a real doctor. You could choose from a variety of fresh scents offered by our friends at Mando. The Bourbon Leather, the Clover Woods, the Mount Fuji, or the Pro Sport. I love the Clover Woods. That's my go-to. Pro Sport, awesome as well. They're all really good, but those are my two favorites. Mando is clinically proven to control odor better than a shower with soap alone. 12 hours after a shower, the average man's grundle odor level was a 5 out of 10. With Mando, is that good or bad? The average grundle odor is a 0 out of 10. Oh, that's probably good. You want to have a fresh grundle because you never know. True. You never know when a grundle sniff test is going to happen. You want to be prepared. Pop quiz. Drop those pants. Grundle scent time. You got Mando? You don't have to worry about that. You're ready to go. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with the solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like a mini body wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. And as a special offer for listeners, new customers can get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code CHGO at shopmando.com. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Shopmando.com, SHOPMANDO.com. Please, in all caps, support our show and tell them we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And when you're going to need some Mando might be this weekend when you're sweating out your prize pick selections for the big game coming up on Sunday. Have you heard about this? You seen this? Tell me more. You got the Philadelphia football team and the Kansas City football team. They're going to be going up against each other, and that means you can have more in the game with Prize Picks. Prize Picks is one of the best ways out there to wager on sports, and it's super simple. All you have to do is you go to Prize Picks, you go to the app, and they have all these different props, and all you got to do is pick more than or less than on certain stat lines, such as Saquon Barkley to rush for more than 112 and a half yards, Jalen Hurts to pass for more than 215 and a half yards, Patrick Mahomes, let's see, what was his? Oh, Patrick Mahomes, 1 passing yard.
Ooh.
More than or less than.
Under.
I think the more than is the right play there. I'm no expert, but I think that's a good one there. All of those and many, many more are available on Prize Picks. Remember to check Prize Picks for up to the date player projections. So right up until kickoff on Sunday, you're going to want to check out what Prize Picks is offering, so you make sure that you're getting the best options out there to pick more than or less than on. So again, download the app today. When you use the code CHGO, you're going to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app, use the code CHGO. You're going to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. We're going to need a new Studio A by the end of this afternoon.
Holy moly.
Way to go, Bulls. Look what you did. You destroyed our studio.
Can invoice you for that too.
Yeah.
You and Shitty Ray's getting invoiced about this show. That's for sure. All right. Why don't we hear from Connor Bedard? He spoke after practice today in response to some of the national criticism. Here is Connor Bedard, courtesy of Mario's phone.
Not bad. It's a late one, but
Saw you and Anders talking before practice. So what has his feedback been for you recently?
not much. Like just keep doing my thing, and yeah, I don't know. I'm not going to go into detail what he's telling me really.
You probably heard about the criticism on some of the national broadcasts the last couple of games. And, there is certainly a spotlight on you more than anyone else. Do you have any thoughts on that, or how do you feel like it's been in terms of that national spotlight this year?
I'm not watching broadcasts or anything, so I'm playing hockey. And, you know, when their job is to say what they see. You know, I couldn't really care less, to be honest, what people on the outside think of me or, you know, us or whatever. But of course, I'm not going to be butthurt if someone says I make a bad play or something. I don't care. It's their job to say what they feel, and you know, I'm not going to take anything personally.
How do you feel about how last night went for you?
Yeah, it was good and bad. So just try to clean up the bad.
But just to kind of follow up though, do you listen to some of the criticisms of
No.
mistake and see if they have a point or not? Or?
Hey man, I know if I mess up a play, and like I said, it's their job to point that out or to say how they feel about something. So, but I mean, if I make a mistake, I know, you know. So I don't need to watch a TNT broadcast to figure out if I made a mistake. You know, I'm gonna know.
How do you feel that you progressed in various areas of your game that you were looking to improve on this year?
Yeah, I think maybe the biggest thing is like stick battles and stuff. I feel pretty good in that area, whether it's on the forecheck or in my own end or whatever. And it's something that, you know, I worked on a lot over the summer, and I feel like progressively as the year goes on, I'm able to, you know, maybe win some more battles. So just try to keep building on that, I guess.
There was that play in the third period where you were kind of just inside the offensive blue line and kind of hesitated a second. They took the puck, but you were able to recover and poke it away and get it down low for Smith and Marin to have that 2-0. And is that kind of the situation where you've learned that even if the first play doesn't work, you can recover and still make something happen?
No, I mean, it's obvious if you make a mistake, you're going to try to clean it up. So, you know, I think when you make a mistake, you're more determined or whatever to go get the puck back or whatnot. So it's not really something, you know, if you need to learn that, it's probably not a good thing.
It seemed like you guys complimented each other pretty well last night as a line. What do you find effective with those two guys right now?
Yeah, you know, they play the game the right way, play really hard, and it's easy for me to, you know, read off them and, they're so good at getting pucks back and creating space for myself and for themselves. So it's good when you can you can know what they're trying to do and you can get a little extra space.
You guys went up against McDavid's line a lot last time. Do you like that challenge? Do you like having that?
Yeah, it's fun, man. You want to play against the best and compete against the best player in the world, and to be able to get that chance and trust from Anders for us to go against him. It's a lot of fun, and it's only going to make us better, make me better, and I love that I got a chance to play against him.
What have you picked up from watching Jason Dickinson play, and what was going through your mind when you saw him go down?
Yeah, it's scary when you see someone go down. Just the way he fell and stuff. But obviously we're hoping he's okay, and he means so much to our team on the ice and as well as off the ice. So you can learn a lot from just the way he plays the game, kind of in his own end, and he never cheats it. And I think he's taught me a lot with face-offs, and always takes the time for everyone. So that's a guy that means a lot to our team, and obviously we're hoping that he can be back soon and feeling good, and we think he is.
Anders said last night, that it didn't look good as far as Dickinson. We'll find out more hopefully this afternoon, but if he is gone, how do you fill that void?
Yeah, like you said, we hope that it's not too bad or too severe or anything, but I think whenever there's someone else, obviously we have a lot of young guys, and someone's gonna have to step up and take that role and take those minutes, and that's obviously good for guys to get that opportunity, and we have a lot of guys that have came up recently or are younger and can take those minutes and improve their games, and I think that's a good challenge and just going to help in the long run for those guys. But like you said, we hope Dickie's back as soon as possible.
All right, there's Connor Bedard today after practice. Shout out Connor, by the way, for saying he couldn't care less. Well done. He didn't say I could care less, because that means he actually does care. Mm-hmm. So couldn't care less. A+ for the grammar.
Good job.
Well done, Connor. I like it. You were there. What was the? Was it tense? Was it loose? How did it seem in person?
I mean, it wasn't loose. I think clearly, as the first 2 minutes of that availability was about the game and the criticism and the broadcast and how he played against Connor McDavid and all that stuff. Like, I think it's pretty clear that he has been trained on how to keep the outside noise as outside noise, and he's a 19-year-old kid who is figuring out the NHL, and it's taken some time, and he's doing it in a situation that hasn't been super easy on the ice, given the team around him and everything, and the situation he's coming out of juniors, where he was the player that did everything, mm-hmm. and he comes to the NHL and he's the focal point. He's the most skilled guy on the team for the past 2 years, so he's still in that. I assume he's still in that mindset of it's like, well, I have to create things, I have to make things happen, and he's got the spotlight on him. And, I think with the criticisms, both from, the ESPN broadcast where it was Messier and Subban, and then the TNT broadcast with, Paul Bissonnette and then the whole panel and everything, I want to say this. It's extremely nitpicky. It is the national broadcast covering the Blackhawks with the scope of what is the most interesting thing to talk about, or who is the most interesting player to talk about.
It's always Bedard.
Connor Bedard.
Yes.
To go, as we mentioned on the over the game that was the Panthers game, where the criticism came from Messier and Subban about, Bedard screwed up on this play, he should be benched, blah, 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 blah. Well, it was a sequence of events on that play, and TJ Brody was, you could argue, as equally at fault. Does the ESPN broadcast care to go in on TJ Brody? No, you go in on Connor Bedard because
Right.
he is more of the focal point of the team as a whole. With last night's game, you have, again, it's a national broadcast. What's the most interesting thing about the Blackhawks nationally? It's Connor Bedard. So you dissect everything about his game and you nitpick the negatives without really giving much credence to some of the positives. As far as I know, because I didn't see the broadcast because being at the stadium, but there wasn't much said about the things he did right that helped set up some of the opportunities and some of the plays that the Blackhawks did make, and the negative, the criticism, like that is what people are going to latch on to. I will say what Messier was saying and what Biz was saying, not wrong. No. There are things that Bedard will need to correct in his game to really get to that upper echelon elite level of NHL player. But where you lose a lot of people is in Messier and Subban being like, you have to bench him because you have to send a message, or Bisnet being like, he'll never be successful in the league because he can't get these little things in his game, these little details. He can't like be perfect on those little things, and it's still, he's 19. He's got no help.
Look, I think Biz calling it pond hockey yesterday was a little out of line, I thought, too, because yes, there were moments where he turned a puck over or was forced off the puck a little too easily or made an ill-advised pass he shouldn't have made. Fine. And we say all the time, Derek King always used to say you have to coach the junior out of guys. It's coming. Bedard is also trying to do everything on his own. But that game-tying goal, Alec Martinez's goal, Connor Bedard did the board work to make that happen, along with Slaggert and Donato. Like, he was also buzzing all night long offensively. Bedard was engaged. I think he possessed the puck more last night than I've seen him do all year in terms of physically carrying the puck through the zone, looking for lanes, looking for pass opportunities, ended up with an assist. Mark Lazarus tweeted this today, and I thought it was interesting. He kind of broke down the numbers. Bedard spent the night going up against McDavid's line with Ryan Donato and Landon Slaggert on his wings. The Hawks out-attempted Edmonton 17-11, outchanced them 9-4, and out-high-danger chanced them 4-0. They also outscored them 1-0 in those 12 minutes they were on the ice against McDavid. That is something that needs to be illustrated. Connor McDavid was a non-factor last night. And Anders Sorensen talked about it today, and you'll hear from him in a little bit here on the other side of the break zone. He put Bedard out there against McDavid on purpose. He was looking for that matchup. That's a teaching moment. And for Bedard to prevail in a head-to-head with Connor McDavid, look, Slaggert and Donato, of course, get a lot of credit for that line winning that matchup over the course of the night. Of course.
Yeah.
But the fact that just goes out the window and the montage they show, despite all those numbers that Mark Lazarus pointed out, the montage is Connor Bedard making mistakes. It just feels a little bit disingenuous. And I think they know it's going to get reaction. They know it's going to get clicks. They know it's going to get engagement. And I know that's the name of the game these days because, you know what? It's not about the quality of the content in a lot of places. It's about how can more clicks be made? How can more eyeballs be on our piece here or there? Whatever. So whatever's going to get, you could put up a post that says, what's your favorite color? There's people on Twitter that do it all the time. Like, what's a 10-10 album? And it gets 1,000 responses and 100 million views because everyone has a thought they want to share. It's engagement farming. And this is a lesser example of that because they knew that would be clipped and they knew that conversation would have hundreds of comments, hundreds of likes, hundreds of retweets, and everything is exactly accomplished as opposed to, hey, look how well Connor Bedard played defensively. That's not going to get the reaction.
Right.
So it's frustrating. All right, we're going to hear from Anders Sorensen next right here on the CHGO Blackhawks podcast. But we mentioned our friend Sarah, our typical producer out there on the slopes skiing, and she's rocking those Shady Rays ski goggles. They look awesome, like everything at Shady Rays. Get ready for the ski season and the winter ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company. They offer a world-class product that's rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. They've got durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor activities. And they've got hundreds of options to choose from, including styles in your favorite team's colors. And if they ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. Shady Rays has the most insane protection plan in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. And exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
And you might need those Shady Rays when you have a big, bright neon sign in your room from Saturday Neon. Started by 2 college friends, Saturday Neon makes officially licensed collegiate logo LED neon signs, perfect for your home, your office, your dorm room, your fan cave, or your home bar. Check out their new Essentials collection featuring almost 50 of the biggest schools across the country and counting for only $75. No better way to represent your favorite Big Ten team than with a Saturday Neon. And unlike traditional neon, these LED signs won't break or shatter, but still give you the classic uniform glow that you've come to know and love from neon signs. LEDs will last up to 100,000 hours, so you'll be enjoying your sign for years to come. They also are super easy to install, and they come with the command strips to hang them up. That's awesome. No extra run into the store. Excuse me, where are all your command strips? And they're over there. You don't have to worry about that. Comes with it in the package. It's a perfect gift for any occasion, whether it's birthday, holiday, Wednesday. You can give yourself or someone you love a Saturday Neon. And CHGO even has used Saturday Neon for our studio signs, and they're awesome. Use the code CHGO for 10% off of your order when you go to SaturdayNeon.com. Again, code CHGO, 10% off at SaturdayNeon.com.
All right. I've neglected Super Chats. Do we have any Super Chats today, Joey?
No Super Chats
What?
right now at this time. We do have a lot of Bedard
they've
chatter.
also
We're only at
neglected us.
80 likes right now.
That's
with 185
ridiculous.
people in the room. Make that make sense.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't make sense at all. It is our audience is acting like the Blackhawks, where they've got opportunities to shoot and are passing them up for passes. No, shoot, hit that like button. Don't worry about it. Just keep pumping that like button, and it will help us out big time. All right, let's hear from Anders Sorensen, who was asked today about Connor Bedard and all this criticism. I want to mention something. Somebody, I'm not going to name names, but it rhymes with Marley Chimeliotis, had their recorder on the podium, and instead of hitting record, they hit play. So there's a little bit of a background noise. It was driving me crazy because I thought there was something wrong with my recording. So I went to the Hawks official recording, and that was on there too. So someone had the record. I don't know if it was Charlie for sure, but someone had the recorder playing.
I think it was him.
On the podium while Anders was talking. So you might hear that bleeding in the background a little bit. You're not going crazy. We did our best to reduce the noise and boost what we had to boost. So here is Anders Sorensen after today's practice.
Well, I think puck management is a big part of the game, but we'll keep those conversations between me and him, what we talk about. He's aware. He's a smart player. He knows if he makes a mistake. So, I think that's kind of where it's at.
How do you feel about his overall game last night? You matched that lineup against McDavid's all night.
Yeah, I thought there was some really good moments, really good parts of his game, and then there were some where we had some puck management stuff, and I think that's probably the yin and the yang of the both. But the high end stuff was really high end, and then there were some hiccups.
Did you, I guess, purposely, were you looking to match him up against McDavid?
Yeah, we wanted him to go against him, for the most part, he did a really good job. It looked like the big guy on the other side here was getting frustrated at times, and I think that line itself with the D behind him there did a really good job against him.
A couple moments in the third period where he made some good plays. There was one where he kind of lost the puck, but then got it back and got it down low for that 2-0 with Smith and Maroon, and then was involved in that puck battle for Martinez's goal. Did you talk to him during the game about this, or did he kind of take that on himself?
We talked during the game. He's a smart player, but He's aware. So, yeah, I think, and even if you look at those turnovers he had, right? If you look at who's the first guy back after those turnovers, it's him. So he knows.
Part of this come with the territory of being a number 1 overall pick and quote unquote phenom and all this stuff. You talk to him about managing like the noise.
I think I've said this before. For a 19-year-old player that's under the microscope as much as he is, it's actually really remarkable how he handles everything. To be that mature and how to handle things, and it's he comes to the work. He came to practice today, first one on the ice, ready to go again. I think I give him a lot of credit for that. There is a lot of outside. There's a lot of pressure on him in general, but I think he puts more pressure on himself than anybody. So I think he's handling it terrific.
Have you enjoyed getting to know him personally these past few months?
Yeah, he's a great human being, and he cares about people, but he cares, but he wants to be the best player, and he studies the game. He studies his own game. He's very aware. So yeah, it's been great.
I think this is the big thing that gets lost. By the way, thank you for the Blackhawks for use of their video. That had less of Charlie's recorder playing in the background, so we used that one. Again, I don't know it's Charlie, but it was Charlie. The fact that, like, if Connor Bedard was the first guy off the ice, the last guy on it, they literally have to drag him, not literally, they figuratively have to drag him off the ice after practices. All the kid wants to do is play. He's there for morning skates, even if they're optional. This guy wants to be, as Anders said, wants to be the best player in the game. And he is hell-bent on getting there. So I think the notion of he needs to improve in some areas, yes, he does. Mm-hmm. I have no doubts that he's going to do everything in his power to get there.
Yeah. I mean, he is as Anders says, he is a mature guy for even just being 19, being able to handle, the being in the spotlight and basically since he was 12, having all the pressure on him and the attention on him as he came up in his hockey career, and he's someone who understands how good he is and how good he can be, and he works on it. It'd be a different thing if he came in and drafted number 1 overall, had an attitude of was like, I'm the best thing, I don't need to listen to anybody, I show up late, I'm first off the ice, nobody talked to me. I feel like that's what I feel like some people paint the picture of him as this entitled, selfish player. That's just not the reality. It's a kid who is continuing to, grow in the NHL, and this is what happens at 18, 19 years old, being the focal point of a team. Is there's just a lot of attention and pressure, and I think he's been handling it really well. I think, as we said before, some of the criticisms of his game are fair, that those are things that he needs to work on, but also the gravity of the criticism is where it's just you gotta have some nuance to it. And I would say, I do credit the TNT group, even as Bissonnette made his comments, right after that, both Henrik Lundqvist and Anson Carter basically laid out the yes, but also he's on a bad team, and yes, but also he's 19 years old. It's those are the things that you have to take into consideration and are the bigger picture things about this whole situation. And he's a hard worker. He's continuously going to work on getting stronger. He's going to work on winning more battles more often, and continuing to up that elevate his offensive game, because that's going to be his biggest thing. Expecting him to be a Selke winner that's just not going to be his game.
Yeah.
He can be the offensive threat that he was drafted to be, but it's the willingness to engage defensively. That's going to be the big thing, and I feel like he does that. A stat that I researched this weekend because I was asked to. he's third on the team in the past 2 seasons in takeaways, behind Jason Dickinson, who got votes for the Selke, and Alex Vlasic, who's a defenseman, whose
Pretty good.
job it is to take the puck away.
Yeah.
So, not bad.
Well, yeah. I mean, the notion that he is selfish is ridiculous. I mean, if you have watched all 53 Hawks games this year, I think you spend a lot of those games being a little bit frustrated that Connor is not just trying to take over and take all the shots he can because of his generational shot and his offensive ability. And he does too often try to get a pass over to Pat Maroon or,
Right.
or whoever it might be. When it's like, dude, remember, you're Connor Bedard. Shoot it. They want I think he goes out of his way to be unselfish almost to a fault. And I think it's improving. By the way, Johnny Lazarus from the Daily Faceoff is in the chat. And he mentioned that they had Pat Maroon on their podcast this morning. And Pat Maroon pointed out, everyone on this team is aware of how hard Connor Bedard works. So Marc Messier's notion of you're going to lose the locker room this way. Guys are going to be pissed that Connor Bedard isn't working hard enough and he's not being punished for it. He is among the hardest workers on the team.
Right.
I think you can make an argument for the hardest working guy on the team. He is hell-bent on being great. And I think another big part of this, too, is, look, a lot of people, and this is not a criticism, it's just a fact, jumped on the Blackhawks bandwagon in 2008, 2009, and the Hawks were great immediately for them. They didn't see all the building that had happened before that. And Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews came into a situation that was much farther along than Bedard's.
Yeah.
They got those two guys at the end of the rebuild. Perfect timing. Bedard is after the first year of the rebuild. And now there's still work to be done to build around Bedard. It's fine. No one's upset that Connor Bedard was drafted. And it's cool that the rebuild maybe doesn't have to be quite as painful as it could have been. Because imagine this without Connor Bedard.
Right, exactly.
It would be awful. So I went back and I looked at the second seasons for Connor Bedard, Patrick Kane, and Jonathan Toews. And I wanted to see what percentage of the team's goals they had a hand in. So Connor Bedard this year has 46 points. The Hawks have scored 138 goals. That means Bedard has had a part in 1/3. Exactly 33.333333 infinity percent of the Hawks scoring. Patrick Kane's second season, he had 70 points in 80 games. The Hawks scored 260 goals, 27% of the Hawks scoring. Jonathan Toews had a nice 69 points in 82 games. That's 26.5%. So Connor Bedard, 6% more. I know it's not a huge number, but it's just him. If he is not scoring, the team is not scoring. Meanwhile, Patrick Kane was second on the team in scoring behind Martin Havlat, who had 77 points. There were other, what year was that? Oh, wait, I got it right here.
Yeah, 08,
Kane was second. Toews was third. Chris Versteeg had 53. Brian Campbell had 52. Andrew Ladd had 49. Dave Bolin had 47. Patrick Sharp had 44. Like, on and on and on. You had guys contributing.
That's like, what, 7 players at a half point per game better or better?
Cam Barker also had 40 points in 68 games.
Sure he did, yeah.
I mean,
Noted,
this is what we're talking about, right? Like, you're counting on Connor for all of the offense.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, and the guys that are providing offense that aren't Connor Bedard are Ryan Donato and Tyler Bertuzzi and Tavo. And it's like one of those three is potentially not finishing this season here in Chicago. And, and two of them aren't supposed to be Jonathan Toews, Martin Havlat, Patrick Sharp, versions of those guys on this type of team. So yeah, I mean, it's again like what we're seeing. And last night was a great. Once you get past the Bedard stuff of last night, look at the games that Frank Nazar and Landon Slaggert had.
Yeah,
they were fantastic last night, and especially defensively. Those guys were getting penalty kill opportunities. They were Slaggert and Donato were part of the matchup against Connor McDavid. Slaggert played really well against him. There was in the overtime period, Frank Nazar chased down Connor McDavid and basically broke up a breakaway attempt. Like,
Yeah.
So those guys are part of what is being built here now, getting to the NHL level and starting to stack up those good performances to where, as that goes on, as the season, we get to the last, third of the season here, there's going to be more of that like feeling of like, oh, okay, Connor's help is getting here, and it's starting to like make those impacts that we've all kind of been dying to see out of these young guys, and the more that those guys get those opportunities, the more time that they continue to evolve and grow their game, like the more that this is going to be less solely on Bedard to make things happen, and there's going to be more players around that are part of the prospect system that are going to be around making those plays, and then as you go through this offseason, you hope to get some other players that can come in and take some of that weight off as well, even if it's not getting the biggest fish out there of Marner or Rantanen or whoever is available.
But please do that anyway.
Yeah, go try.
Get 2 of them, actually.
But why not? But even if it's like landing a guy like Nikolai Ehlers or Brock Besser, it's like that's someone who can
legit top 6,
even take a percentage of the weight off of Bedard, and
then plus you add the growth of Nazar, and whatever else.
It makes Bedard's life in the NHL a little bit easier.
There's a big hang up on the word generational, and our friend Revan XL is in the chat almost every show, and is one of the many that says, well, they said he's generational and he's not generational. So on January 13th, Connor Bedard scored his 100th career point. Scott Wheeler of The Athletic sent out this tweet. 100 points. It took Jack Hughes 160 games. It took last year's Hart Trophy winner Nathan MacKinnon 143 games. It took Austin Matthews 112 games. And it took Connor Bedard 112 games. Mm-hmm. So him and Matthews, I think you could call Matthews generational. I think you would call Nathan MacKinnon generational.
If I remember correctly, those words were attached to those guys.
Yes. And the word generational, if we want to be Webster's over here about this,
it is overused.
I believe it's just as GOAT is overused.
Yes.
GOAT. He's the GOAT. Everyone's the GOAT. GOAT. Okay, fine.
There's a billion greatest of all time.
Is he one of the best players of his generation? Is because of the overuse of the word, that's how I define it now. So when you look at, we'll call it the 2020s. Mm-hmm. At 2029-30, when they do the all-decade team, will Connor Bedard be on it?
The next quarter century.
I will
team.
take that bet.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will take that bet 100%. And McDavid is a different stratosphere. McDavid, when it's all said and done, might be the best to ever play the game. Mm-hmm. Like that is, not only is that like in the discussion, it's quite possibly reachable for him. Mm-hmm. So put him aside.
Yeah,
that's a once in a lifetime kind of a guy.
McDavid is at a separate tier, and if you ever McDavid was generational, but he's more than generational. Like you said, like that is actually
it's like every 50 years kind of a guy.
Like it. You rarely will ever see guys like that every second or third draft class. Like it's just not. It's not like that. Like that is a special type of player.
But would you? I think you put Matthews in that category. I think you
below McDavid.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But so I think this is the category we're talking about.
That
Bedard
step down. Yeah, that step down from McDavid.
He's in the Matthews, McKinnon, Jack Hughes. I don't know if you want to put Jack Eichel in that. Probably not just yet. I would say he's like the tier below that, maybe.
If we're saying like McDavid is like S tier, right?
Yes.
Then you have A, B, and C. I think there's top of A is like McKinnon, Matthews, Makar, Draisaitl, all that. I think if you go maybe bottom A, top of B, that's where you can probably find a guy like Jack Eichel and Jack Hughes. I think if we're thinking like end of his career. If Connor Bedard hits where people expect him to be, he's in that A tier for sure.
Yeah, I think so. And that's if you want to. I also think, by the way, I think generational was used about his shot.
Yeah,
more than it was about him. I don't want to. I'm not going to go through everything written about Connor Bedard. I'm sure someone called him a generational prospect fine. But if you want to get hung up on that word and then just not enjoy Connor Bedard, go nuts. If you want to be miserable for the next 15 years, by all means.
You could also wait another generation, wait 25 years, and then look back. And
Exactly.
From
Like,
generation to generation.
I just don't know. Is he a perfect player at 19? No. If you expected him to be a perfect player at 19, I don't know how to help you. Patrick Kane was not a perfect player at 19.
He's never been a perfect
People
player.
have this hindsight of Patrick Kane because he came out and they had success like pretty much right away as a team, and he had huge moments in that success. Do you think if you put Connor Bedard on those Dynasty Hawks teams that he would not be performing like Patrick Kane? You really believe that? If you had a line of Jonathan Taves, Connor Bedard, and Marian Hossa, you don't think Connor Bedard would be putting up Patrick Kane numbers plus?
Yeah, he would be.
Come on.
Yeah.
This is what we're talking about.
Well, yeah, and it's the expectations. I mean, you look at Patrick Kane when he came into the league, everyone knew the offensive talent he had, and there were a lot of defensive deficiencies. He was a lot like Bedard in stature, and you knew he wasn't going to get, that Selke caliber defense, and he never had to. And Bedard's at a spot where, he doesn't have the luxury of having guys like Taves and Hossa and Sharp and a defense like those Hawks teams did, to where you can go out there and be all gas on offense, and then as soon as the puck goes the other way, you're skating at half speed basically. So, Kane could get away with it because the offense was that special and the slack was picked up. There's no one picking up the slack for Bedard on this team, and it's not here yet. So what you see is, even on those plays where there's a turnover that he's part of or something, he's busting back to try and back check, and he's trying to get the puck back. Like it is.
Well, that's what Anders said too.
Yeah, and it's a lot different than. I think people paint this picture of just like he turns the puck over and then he goes, ugh, I guess I got to go back and try and play defense. Like, no, like he's trying to go back and the like, ugh moments, that's an expectation he has of himself, of just like being upset that play didn't work, but still going back to try and fix it. Like that's the motor that he's been showing in the 2 seasons that he's been here, and it's gotten better from last year to this year. He's been better defensively. He's been more engaged. He's not afraid to try and battle with someone. And is he going to win all of them? No, because he's barely bigger than I am. But he's a guy that is going to go in there and put in an effort.
There's no doubt about that. And if you've not seen the growth from Connor Bedard last season to this season at all ends of the ice, you're just not looking for it. Like, he is clearly improved in pretty much every aspect of his game. And this year, when we all sort of expected, that it was going to be Bertuzzi, Tavo, and Bedard for the whole year, we haven't seen that at all yet. Like, literally 0 seconds of that has happened this year, according to Natural Stat Trick, which is somehow unbelievable.
And they've played on the power play, but at 5
at
on 5,
5
it hasn't been a
it's
thing.
not happened.
Yeah.
So it has been Nick Foligno. And look, he had Taylor Hall up there. Him and Bertuzzi had some chemistry for a long time. There's no doubt about any of that stuff. But, man, until he gets that everyday top-line line mate, be it a center, be it a wing, and I'm not ready to punt on him as a center yet either. He's been getting better at face-offs.
Little by little.
We'll see. I mean, he is responsible for a third of the team's offense. Literally, a third of it.
Statistically.
Yes.
And that's not even counting the plays where he doesn't get an assist.
Exactly.
Or scores.
Yes. All right. A couple super chats before we wrap up. N. Dunn says, with the generational talent attached to him, and people see it's taking a little more time to transition, people just want him to be a bust so bad. I do think that that's part of it. I think there is 31 other fan bases in the NHL that would love for Connor Bedard to fall on his face and suck, and they will do everything they can to find evidence of that happening.
Yeah. And weirdly, there's some people who are Blackhawks fans that also want that outcome.
Okay.
I don't get it.
Thomas with a $5 super chat. Do you ever take a step back and just appreciate that we have Bedard here? Seems
Yes.
like we all get hung up on criticism.
Yeah.
Every game. I'm excited to watch the Hawks play because Connor Bedard's on the team. Every day I go to the United Center, we come here to watch a road game. I'm excited to see what number 98 is going to do. Mm-hmm. That's the main reason most people are watching right now.
Yeah, absolutely. He still has every time the puck's on his stick, there's still a rise in the crowd of like something can happen, and he is the reason that I think a lot of people are tuning in. A lot of people outside of Chicago tune in because of him. Like, yeah, you have to appreciate that.
And $5 from Nico. He says, if you could pick one player from the Cup teams to be on the team today to help develop the young guys and be a leader, who would it be and why?
I think if you're looking for purely on ice, and we're saying Cup version of him, I'm probably thinking Jonathan Toews, Cup version of Jonathan Toews.
Hard to argue against that.
If it's, on ice, off ice, combined production, leadership, all that stuff, I might say Brent Seabrook.
Brent Seabrook's a good one. I was also thinking too, like Marian Hossa and just his approach to being a professional in terms of preparing for games, consistency, health and whatever you want to call it. I'm losing the word, but just
taking care of your
taking
body.
care of your body, like those sort of things. Like Marian Hossa was the quintessential pro who may also not have been like just the in-your-face intimidating leader. And, we've heard from a couple people, and Alex Vlasic was one of them, that like sometimes dudes like Kane and Taves can be a little hard to be around because of that aura.
Right.
But if you're just sort of sliding them in here and they're growing, like let's say you hit the reverse machine and Jonathan Taves is 20 again. Yes, Jonathan Taves is the answer.
Right.
Because you got Taves and Bedard for the next 15 years. That would be great.
That would.
There's a lot of good options on that team. Kind of say Duncan Keith too, like
Keith,
your generational
Seabrook,
defenseman.
Hossa, Sharp, Taves. There's no wrong answer.
And BJD says Taves immediately changes everything about this team. And I do think that we, as a group of Hawks observers, fans, media, whatever, have forgotten how great Jonathan Taves was in his prime. He was like the best player in hockey for a few years. And it wasn't just Hawks fans saying that.
Yeah, all around, yeah.
I remember there was a poll in the, I think it was The Athletic, from coaches, like, who would you start your organization with, Taves or Crosby? And Taves won that. Like, for real. He was that good. And yeah, the health issues set him back. Injuries, concussions set him back. But there was a 3-4 year span there where he was in the conversation for best player in the NHL.
Yep.
And was massively important. So let's not lose sight of that. I know the last few years of him were a little bit rough. But man, in terms of all-time greats, Jonathan Taves is up there.
Yep.
All right, we're going to wrap the show up. Before we do, want to remind everybody to become a diehard at ALLCHGO.com. Today, you're going to get a free shirt or hat when you sign up with our great CHGO merch line. It's stored at ALLCITYNetwork.com. 20% off all of our events, takeovers, watch parties. You'll also get access to our members-only Discord page and a whole lot more access to all of our great written content, locked or unlocked. So please, become a diehard. Go to allchgo.com. We are back tomorrow. Hawks and Predators will be back for the post-game show. Greg will be here. Mario will be back at the United Center. And then Saturday, we've got Hawks and Blues. So a busy weekend ahead. Make sure you're here with us. Make sure you are subscribed so you get those notifications whenever we go live. We'll talk to you tomorrow after Hawks and Predators on the CHGO Blackhawks Podcast.
We all silly like the mayor.